On February 14th, 2026, my daughter locked me out of my own home in 15-degree weather and threw a trash bag at my chest containing everything I apparently deserved from 40 years of hard work. The bag hit me so hard it knocked the breath from my lungs. Inside was $372 in old clothes and a single photograph. I'm Mary Sullivan. I'm 68 years old and I've been a nurse for 42 years at Cook County Hospital on the south side of Chicago. I looked at that trash bag, looked at the yellow sticky note my daughter Diane slapped on my door that read, "Sick of you, house sold, welcome to the trash heap." And I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't pound on that oak door I'd refinished with my own hands. I just smiled. Then I picked up my black Sharpie, the one I'd used for 40 years to mark medication charts, turned that sticky note over, and wrote 2 words that would change everything. Wrong move. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please stay with me until the end, because what my daughter Diane Sullivan Parker and her husband Derek didn't know was that the helpless old woman shivering on that porch, she wasn't who they thought she was. Not even close. November 28th, 2025. Northwestern Memorial Hospital, Suite 847947 AM. The words Stage 2 pancreatic cancer have a way of stopping time. Dr. Patricia Chen, and yes, I noticed the irony that my doctor had the same first name as my late husband Patrick, folded her hands on the desk and gave me that look. The one I'd given to 1,000 families over 4 decades. Compassionate but clinical. Honest but gentle. "Mary, the tumor is 2.3 centimeters, she said, pointing to the scan on her computer screen. It's located in the head of the pancreas. We caught it early because of your persistent symptoms. You're looking at aggressive chemotherapy, possibly surgery, but the 5-year survival rate at this stage is 68%. 68%. I'd spent my entire career calculating odds. I knew those were fighting numbers. "When do we start?" I asked. That's when I heard the sob. My daughter Diane was sitting in the chair beside me, her face buried in her hands, her shoulders shaking. Her designer purse, a cream-colored Burberry that cost more than my monthly mortgage payment, had fallen to the floor. Her husband Derek Parker sat on her other side, one hand on her back, his face arranged in what I recognized as practiced concern. "Oh, Mama," Diane cried, looking up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "What are we going to do?" I reached over and took her hand. It was soft, perfectly manicured, with that gel nail polish that lasts for weeks. My hands were rough from years of sanitizer and latex gloves, but I squeezed hers gently. "We're going to fight," I said. "That's what Sullivans do." Derek leaned forward. He was 45 years old, conventionally handsome in that polished way some men achieve through expensive grooming rather than genetics. His suit was tailored, his watch was a Tag Heuer, and his voice was smooth as silk. "Mary, we want you to know that Diane and I are here for you," he said. "Whatever you need. Medical bills, rides to treatment, help around the house. We've got you." "Thank you, baby," I said to Diane, because I thought she was crying for me. Looking back now, standing in my new condo 18 months later, I realize what that sob really was. Relief. She was crying because she thought the cancer might take too long. December 3rd, 2025. I bought my house in 1987 for $87,000. It was a 3-story brownstone in Bronzeville, the historic heart of Black Chicago, and it needed everything. New roof, new plumbing, new electrical, new everything. But it was mine. My husband Patrick and I spent 5 years restoring it, doing most of the work ourselves on weekends. We refinished the original hardwood floors, rebuilt the decorative molding, restored the carved banister. We raised Diane there. We hosted Thanksgiving dinners for 30 people. We built a life. When Patrick died of a heart attack 3 years ago, February 9th, 2023, at 6:42 a.m. in our bedroom, the house was paid off and worth $1.2 million. The neighborhood had changed. Young professionals, coffee shops, a Whole Foods 2 blocks away. My little piece of history had become prime real estate. I sat at my dining room table, the one Patrick built from reclaimed wood, looking at the papers Diane had brought over. "It's just a precaution, Mama," she said, pointing to the highlighted sections. "You're having surgery in 2 weeks. Dr. Chen said you'll be under anesthesia for 4 to 6 hours. If something happens, if there's a complication and you can't make decisions, someone needs to be able to access your accounts, pay your bills, talk to the doctors." Derek sat across from me, his laptop open, looking professional and trustworthy. He'd been a financial advisor before, or so he said. Diane met him at a real estate conference 4 years ago, married him 6 months later. I'd paid for that wedding, $38,000 at the Drake Hotel. "This is called a general durable power of attorney," Derek explained, turning his screen toward me. "It means Diane can handle your financial affairs if you're incapacitated. It's standard estate planning, Mary. Most people your age have one." Most people your age. That phrase should have been my first warning. "What exactly can she do with this?" I asked. "Pay your bills, access your bank accounts, file your taxes, handle insurance claims, anything financial," Derek said. "It's designed to protect you, not to give her control. You can revoke it at any time once you're recovered." I looked at Diane, my baby girl, 42 years old, successful realtor, living in a nice condo in Lincoln Park. She was looking at me with those big brown eyes, the same eyes as her father's. "Mama, I would never do anything to hurt you," she said. "I just want to make sure your bills get paid while you focus on getting better. That's all this is." I signed it. Mary Elizabeth Sullivan, December 3rd, 2025, 2:47 p.m. I watched Diane fold the papers and put them in her purse. I watched Derek close his laptop with a soft click. I watched them exchange a glance, quick, barely there, that I dismissed as shared concern for my health. That glance was victory. December 17th, 2025. They always tell you about the nausea, but nobody tells you about the cold. Chemotherapy is pumped into your veins, ice cold, and it spreads through your body like winter seeping into an old house. I sat in the reclining chair, wrapped in heated blankets, watching the clear poison drip from the IV bag into my arm. Cisplatin, gemcitabine. 4 hours every other week for 12 weeks, then we'd reassess. Diane came to the first session. She sat beside me, scrolling through her phone, occasionally looking up to ask if I needed anything. She brought me ginger ale and saltines. She held the basin when I vomited. She was a good daughter, or so it seemed. "Mama, I've been thinking," she said during hour 3, when the anti-nausea meds had kicked in and I could speak without retching. "Have you thought about setting up automatic bill pay? It would be easier for me to manage while you're going through this." "I've always paid my own bills, baby." "I know, but with the chemo brain fog, you might forget. Let me help. I can set it up on my phone, make sure everything's handled." Chemo brain. That was real. I'd seen it in patients. The forgetfulness, the confusion, the difficulty focusing. The medications affected cognitive function. It was temporary, but it was real. "Okay," I said. "That would help." She smiled and squeezed my hand. "I've got you, Mama. That's what family is for." December 31st, 2025 second chemotherapy session. Diane didn't come. She texted at 9:45 a.m. "So sorry, Mama. Showing a $2.4 million property in Lake Forest. Derek will come get you." Derek arrived at 2:15 p.m., 15 minutes before my session ended. He looked impatient, checking his watch, making calls in the hallway. On the drive home, he asked me about my bank accounts. "Just trying to get a full picture of your finances," he said. "For estate planning purposes. You have your checking and savings at Chase, right? Any other accounts? Investment portfolios? Retirement funds?" I was too nauseated to think clearly. "I have an IRA, some savings. I don't remember the exact amounts." "That's okay," he said, smiling in the rearview mirror. "That's what the power of attorney is for. Diane can access all that information and make sure everything's organized." January 14th, 2026, third chemotherapy session. I came alone, Took an Uber for $63. Sat in the chair alone. Went home alone. Diane called at 7 p.m. How was treatment, Mama? It was fine. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. This quarter has been insane. But hey, I transferred some money from your savings to checking to cover your mortgage. I saw the payment was coming up. I hadn't asked her to do that. How much did you transfer? I asked. $5,000, just to make sure there's a cushion. You don't want to worry about overdrafts while you're sick. $5,000. My monthly mortgage was $1,200. That seems like a lot, I said. Mama, you need to trust me. I'm protecting you. This is what the POA is for. I let it go. The nausea was overwhelming. I needed to sleep. Week of January 20th, 2026. I started checking my bank account online. At first, everything looked normal. My pension deposit, $4,200 on the first of the month. My Social Security, $1,876 on the third. My savings account, $382,000. That savings represented 40 years of working double shifts, picking up overtime, living frugally. Patrick and I had saved every penny we could. We wanted to make sure Diane would never struggle the way we had. Then I saw the transfers. January 7th, withdrawal, $15,000. Medical supplies, Horizon Home Health. January 12th, withdrawal, $8,500. Specialist consultation, Dr. Robert Morrison. January 18th, withdrawal, $25,000. Treatment deposit, Advanced Cancer Center. January 21st, withdrawal, $12,000. Pharmacy, MedExpress Plus. I called Diane. Oh, Mama, yes, I should have told you, she said, her voice soothing. Dr. Chen recommended some additional treatments. There's a new immunotherapy drug that's showing great results, but insurance won't cover it. It's $60,000 for a 6-month course, but I did the research and it could significantly improve your survival rate. I didn't agree to any new treatment. You were so out of it during your last appointment. Don't you remember? Dr. Chen explained everything. You said yes. I have the paperwork. Did I? The chemo fog was real. There were hours I couldn't account for, conversations I didn't remember. Can I see the paperwork? I asked. Of course, I'll bring it by this weekend. She never did. February 3rd, 2026, my credit card stopped working. I was at Walgreens buying prescriptions. The pharmacist ran my Chase Visa. Declined. She tried again. Declined. Do you have another card? She asked. I tried my MasterCard. Declined. I paid cash, $47 for anti-nausea medication, and went home shaking. Not from the cold. From fear. I called Chase. After 20 minutes on hold, a representative named Jennifer confirmed my worst suspicions. Mrs. Sullivan, I show that on January 30th, all your credit cards were reported lost or stolen. New cards were issued and sent to your home address. I didn't report them lost. The report came from Diane Sullivan Parker, who has power of attorney on your account. She said you'd been experiencing memory issues due to medical treatment and had misplaced your cards multiple times. That's not true. I'm sorry, ma'am, but per the POA documentation, she has full authority to manage your accounts. The new cards should arrive within 7 to 10 business days. They never arrived, because they'd been sent to my address, the address Diane was about to change. February 10th, 2026, I checked my savings account. Balance, $127,482. 00. In 5 weeks, $254,518 had disappeared. I called Diane 15 times. She didn't answer. Finally, at 9 p.m., she texted, "Busy week. Can't talk. Don't worry about money. I'm handling everything. Focus on getting better. Love you." February 14th, 2026. The taxi dropped me off in front of 1247 East 47th Street. I just finished my 8th chemotherapy session. 4 hours in a chair, poison in my veins, every cell in my body screaming. I was wearing my old winter coat. The good one was at the dry cleaners, and it wasn't warm enough. Chicago in February is brutal. The wind comes off Lake Michigan like a knife, cutting through fabric, flesh, bone. It finds every gap, every weakness. I walked up the 3 steps to my front porch, each step an effort, and reached for my keys. The porch light was off. That was strange. I always left it on. I put my key in the lock. It didn't turn. I tried again, thinking maybe my hands were too cold, too shaky. The key went in but wouldn't rotate. I pulled it out, looked at it to make sure I had the right one. It was my key, the one with the blue rubber grip I'd added so I could feel it in my purse. I tried the keypad above the handle. I'd installed a smart lock 2 years ago, one of those fancy ones you can control with your phone. I punched in my code, 0923. Patrick's birthday, September 23rd. The light blinked red. Access denied. I tried again. Red. Access denied. That's when the panic started. Not the emotional kind. I'd been a trauma nurse for too long to panic easily, but the physical kind. My bladder was full. One of the side effects of the chemotherapy cocktail was increased urination, and I'd been holding it for the 40-minute taxi ride. I needed a bathroom. I needed warmth. I needed to sit down before I fell down. I pressed the doorbell. Once, twice, 10 times. "Diane!" I called out. "Diane, it's freezing out here. Open the door." I saw the curtain move in the front window. Someone was home. Someone was watching me. The deadbolt clicked. The door opened 2 inches and stopped, caught by the security chain. I could see a sliver of my foyer, the warm light from the chandelier Patrick installed, the edge of the antique hall table. Diane's face appeared in the gap. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Her voice was flat, not concerned, not warm, flat. "What do you mean, what am I doing here? I live here. I just got back from chemo. Let me in." "You can't come in." I stared at her. The cold was making my eyes water. Or maybe I was crying. I couldn't tell. "Diane, stop playing. It's 15 degrees. I need to use the bathroom." "The house is sold, Mama. We accepted an offer this morning. The buyers want immediate possession. You can't stay here." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What, you can't sell my house? It's my house." She had the audacity to smirk, actually smirk. "Technically I can. You signed the power of attorney. And actually I already did. I transferred the deed to my name last month using the POA. This house is mine now, Mama. And I sold it. For $1.4 million. The closing is Monday. Monday. 4 days away." "Let me in," I said. My voice was shaking. "I need to use the bathroom. Please." I saw Derek appear behind her. He was holding a wine glass filled with red wine. My wine. A 2015 Caymus Cabernet I'd been saving for a special occasion. $480 a bottle. "Diane, just let her use the bathroom and then she can go," he said. But Diane shook her head. "No. If we let her in, she'll refuse to leave. She'll make a scene. We don't have time for this, Derek. The movers come tomorrow." She looked back at me. "I found you a place. Sunset Haven on the south side. It's a facility for people in your condition. I paid for 3 months up front with your money. It's $1,200 a month. Shared room, but it's clean." $1,200 a month. Sunset Haven. I knew that place. We used to get patients from there at Cook County Hospital. Bed sores, malnutrition, neglect. It was 1 step above a homeless shelter. "Diane, please," I whispered. "I'm your mother." She started to close the door, then stopped. "Wait." She disappeared for a moment. I stood there, shivering, hearing her footsteps on my hardwood floors. When she came back, she pushed something through the gap. A black garbage bag. It hit my chest and fell to the porch with a dull thud. "Your clothes," she said, "and that picture of Dad you keep by your bed. The rest goes to estate sale tomorrow." "And Mama?" She reached out and slapped a bright yellow sticky note onto the door, right at my eye level. "Read it, then get off my property before I call the police for trespassing." The door slammed. The deadbolt clicked. I heard the alarm system beep as she rearmed it. I looked at the yellow note. In Diane's rushed handwriting, it said, "I am sick of you, you useless old woman. This house is sold. Pack your things and welcome to the trash heap." I should have broken down. Any normal person would have. Betrayed by your only child? Thrown out of your own home, sick with cancer, standing in sub-zero weather with nowhere to go? It's a situation designed to destroy you. But I'd been a nurse for 42 years. I'd delivered babies in elevators during power outages. I'd held pressure on gunshot wounds until my arms went numb. I'd pronounced patients dead and then walked to the next room to save the next life. You don't survive 4 decades of trauma care by falling apart. Something inside me went cold. Colder than the wind. Colder than the February night. It was the same cold I'd felt when Patrick died, when I'd had to make decisions about funeral arrangements and estate lawyers while my world ended. It was survival mode. I bent down, my knees screaming in protest, and picked up the garbage bag. I opened it. Inside were some of my old clothes, a photo of Patrick in a cheap frame, and nothing else. 42 years of nursing, 40 years in this house, 68 years of living, reduced to trash. Then I saw it. Diane's Range Rover. White, gleaming, parked in the driveway. A 2025 model, $95,000. I'd co-signed the loan last Christmas when her credit wasn't good enough. I'd made the first 3 payments, $874 a month, until she said she could handle it. I reached into my coat pocket. My fingers found what they always found. My black Sharpie. I've carried one every day since 1983. You need them in hospitals for labeling specimen cups, marking IV bags, initialing charts. I walked over to that pristine white Range Rover. I peeled the sticky note off my door. I turned it over to the blank side, and I wrote 2 words in my careful, practiced handwriting. The same handwriting that had signed 42 years of medical charts. The same handwriting that had signed that power of attorney 8 weeks ago. Wrong move. I stuck the note to the driver's side window, right where she'd see it the moment she came out. Then I threw the garbage bag over my shoulder, walked down the driveway, and disappeared into the Chicago night. Behind me, I heard my phone buzz in my pocket. I pulled it out. 47 missed calls. Diane. She'd just realized what she'd done. She'd just started to worry. But by then, it was far too late for apologies. February 14th, 2026. The motel room cost $87. That left me with $285 in cash, my cell phone with 32% battery, and a garbage bag full of old clothes. The room was exactly what $87 bought you in Chicago. A bed with a sunken mattress, a bathroom with rust stains, a heating unit that rattled but produced no warmth, and the smell of industrial cleaner trying to mask cigarette smoke and despair. I sat on the edge of that bed, still wearing my coat, and allowed myself exactly 5 minutes to feel sorry for myself. I learned that trick in 1985, my 3rd year as a nurse. A 6-year-old came in with a gunshot wound. Wrong place, wrong time, caught in crossfire. We worked on her for 2 hours. We lost her. I went to the bathroom, set a timer for 5 minutes, and cried. When the timer went off, I washed my face, went back to the ER, and saved the next patient. You get 5 minutes to fall apart, then you get to work. My timer went off. I opened the garbage bag and took inventory. 3 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, underwear, socks. The photo of Patrick in the cheap plastic frame, not even the silver one from our bedroom. And at the bottom, something Diane had missed. My nursing badge from County Hospital. The one I'd worn for 42 years. Mary E. Sullivan, RN, BSN, employee number 4782. I turned it over. On the back, in permanent marker, was the phone number I'd written 20 years ago. Lisa Washington, attorney at law, 3125-550847, February 15th, 2026. Lisa Washington's office was on the 42nd floor with a view of the Chicago River. Her waiting room had leather chairs, fresh flowers, and African-American art on every wall. Her receptionist took one look at me, disheveled, exhausted, wearing yesterday's clothes, and reached for the phone to call security. "Tell Lisa that Mary Sullivan is here," I said. "Tell her it's about her mother." 3 minutes later, Lisa burst through the reception area doors. She was 35 years old, sharp as a scalpel, wearing a navy suit that probably cost $3,000. Her hair was natural, pulled back in a professional bun. She took one look at me, and her eyes went wide. "Miss Mary? What happened to you?" Lisa's mother, Dorothy Washington, had been my patient in 1998. Ovarian cancer, stage 4, given 3 months. I was her primary care nurse through 16 months of brutal treatment. I held Dorothy's hand through every chemo session. I taught Lisa how to change her mother's surgical dressings. I was at Dorothy's bedside when she died in February 2000. At Dorothy's funeral, 16-year-old Lisa had hugged me and whispered, "When I grow up, I'm going to be a lawyer so I can protect people like my mama." I'd paid for her LSAT prep course, anonymously through Dorothy's church, $4,000. Lisa knew. She'd always known. She grabbed my arm, pulled me past the receptionist, and locked her office door behind us. "Sit," she commanded, pointing to the leather chair. "Talk." I told her everything. The diagnosis, the power of attorney, the drained accounts, the lockout, the garbage bag, the sticky note. I spoke like I was giving a medical report. Clear, factual, unemotional. When I finished, Lisa's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. "That bitch," she whispered. Then louder. "That evil, scheming bitch." She spun to her computer and started typing with violent precision. "Give me your address, full legal name, social security number." I did. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "I'm pulling Cook County property records right now. If Diane filed any deeds, they'll be here." She clicked, scrolled, clicked again. Then she went very, very still. "Miss Mary," she said slowly, "tell me about your house. Who owns it? Is it just in your name?" "Patrick and I bought it together in 1987. When he died, it went to me." "Why?" "Because," Lisa turned her monitor toward me, "Diane filed a quitclaim deed on January 15th, 2026. She transferred the property from Mary Elizabeth Sullivan to Diane Sullivan Parker for $10. There it was, in black and white. Cook County Recorder of Deeds. Document number 2026-0047-832. Grantor, Mary Elizabeth Sullivan. Grantee, Diane Sullivan Parker. Consideration, $10. 00 date executed. January 15th, 2026. Date recorded. January 16th, 2026. Below it was a signature. My signature. Except it wasn't. "That's not my signature," I said. Lisa leaned forward. "Are you sure?" I pulled out my nursing badge and pointed to my name. Then I pulled out my old checkbook from my purse. Yes, I still carried checks, and showed her the signature on the register. My real signature had a distinctive capital M with a medical cross in the center, a habit I'd developed in nursing school. The signature on the deed was shaky, uncertain, nothing like my handwriting. "She forged it," Lisa said. "She forged your signature while you were impaired from chemotherapy, used the power of attorney as cover, and stole your house. Can we stop her?" Lisa smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Stop her? Miss Mary, we're going to destroy her, but we have to be smart about it. If we move too fast, this becomes a civil dispute. She claims confusion, claims she thought she was acting in your interest, gets a slap on the wrist. What's the alternative? We let her complete the crime. We let her sell the house, sign the final documents, take the check. Then it's not a mistake. It's wire fraud, elder financial abuse, and grand larceny. That's federal prison time." I thought about Diane's face in the doorway, the smirk, the casual cruelty. "How long until closing?" "Monday, February 17th, 3 days. "Then we have 3 days to build a case." February 15th, 2026, Lisa walked me to the bank herself. This wasn't Chase or Bank of America. This was the kind of bank that required an appointment. where the carpets were thick and the coffee was Italian. "I need you to trust me on this," she'd said in the taxi. "You have more resources than you think." The account manager, Mrs. Eleanor Price, was a black woman in her 50s who'd been in banking for 30 years. She took one look at Lisa, then at me, and nodded. "Mrs. Sullivan, I'm glad you came in personally. We've been trying to reach you." "Why?" I asked. She pulled up my account on her computer. "Because someone with power of attorney tried to access your individual retirement account last week. We flagged it because the POA on file doesn't actually cover this account. It's in a trust." Trust, that word again. "What trust?" I asked. Mrs. Price looked surprised. "The Mary and Patrick Sullivan Living Trust, established in 2018. Don't you remember? You and your estate attorney set it up after your husband passed." And then I did remember. Patrick died February 9th, 2023. 3 weeks later, my grief counselor recommended I see an estate attorney, her brother, Marcus Thompson. He'd said, "Mary, you need to protect what Patrick left you. Put the house and your retirement accounts into a trust. That way, if you ever need nursing home care, they can't take everything. And if anyone tries to exploit you, there's a legal barrier." I'd been so deep in grief, I barely remembered signing the papers. "How much is in that account?" I asked. Mrs. Price hesitated. "I can't tell you that with someone else present." "She's my attorney," I said. "Tell us both." Mrs. Price typed. Then she turned the screen toward us. "Mary and Patrick Sullivan, Living Trust IRA, account number 8472-9384-0047, current balance $387,294.16. $387,000. 42 years of working overtime. Every holiday shift, every weekend, every extra hour. Patrick's pension, my pension, our life savings that Diane didn't know about." "Diane tried to access this?" I asked. "On February 8th. Her attorney called, claimed she needed to liquidate it for your medical care. We told him the POA doesn't cover trust assets. Only you, as trustee, can authorize withdrawals." Lisa was typing notes so fast her fingers were a blur. "Mrs. Price, I need you to do something," I said. "I need you to move this money, today, to a new account they can't touch." "Where?" "Open a new account in the trust name. No debit card, no checks, no online access. Just a savings account that requires my physical presence and 2 forms of ID to withdraw from." "Done," Mrs. Price said. "Give me 30 minutes. As we waited, Lisa leaned over and whispered, "Miss Mary, you're not a helpless old woman." "No," I said, thinking about Diane's face. "I'm not." February 15th to 21st, 2026, Lisa hired a private investigator named Marcus Riley, former Chicago PD, 20 years on the force before retiring to private work. He was 60 years old, black, and had the kind of face that made people want to confess. "I need everything," Lisa told him in her office. "Bank records, property records, phone records, if we can get them legally. I need to know every lie they've told, every dollar they've stolen, every move they've made." Marcus nodded. "Elder abuse cases are my specialty. I take them personally. My mother was scammed by her caretaker 3 years ago. I understand the rage." He looked at me. "Mrs. Sullivan, I'm going to ask you to do something hard. I need you to write down everything. Every weird comment, every strange transaction, every time something felt off. Your memory is evidence. I spent that weekend in my motel room with a notebook, writing. Years as a nurse had trained my memory. I remembered dates, times, exact conversations. Week 1 discoveries. Monday, February 17th. Marcus Riley's report, number 1. "Mrs. Sullivan, I pulled Diane's financial records. She's broke. Her real estate business lost $87,000 last year. Her office rent is 6 months overdue. $42,000 owed to landlord Gerald Fisher. She's facing eviction March 1st. Tuesday, February 18th. Marcus Riley's report number 2. Derek Parker. I ran him. He's got a history. Lost his financial advisor license in 2019 for commingling client funds. He's been sued 4 times by former clients. Total judgments against him, $312,000. He's also a gambler. I found records of him at Rivers Casino every weekend for the past year. Wednesday, February 19th. Banking discovery. Lisa got a court order, emergency elder abuse protection, forcing Chase to freeze my accounts and provide records. The full damage. Total stolen $254,518. January 7th, $15,000. Medical supplies. Company doesn't exist. January 12th, $8,500. Specialist doctor. Morrison died in 2022. January 18th, $25,000. Treatment deposit. Facility closed in 2020. January 21st, $12,000. Pharmacy. Fake website. January 30th, $67,000. Wire transfer to Paris apartment rental. February 3rd, $43,000. Wire transfer to Sunset Haven. But they confirmed they only received $3,600. February 10th, $84,018. Wire transfer to Victor Castellano. That last name made Marcus go pale. Victor Castellano, also known as Vic the Viper. He's a loan shark. Works out of a strip club on Western Avenue. If Derek owes him money, this is life or death. February 20th, 2026, 4:47 p.m., Marcus called with urgency in his voice. Mrs. Sullivan, there's something you need to see. He came to Lisa's office with a tablet. On it was surveillance footage from a coffee shop, Einstein Brothers on State Street. Timestamp, January 5th, 2026, 2:13 p.m. Diane sat at a corner table. Across from her was a woman I recognized immediately. My sister, Regina Sullivan Thompson, 65 years old, my baby sister by 3 years. I watched as Regina slid a manila envelope across the table to Diane. I watched Diane open it and pull out papers. I watched them talk, laugh, and shake hands. "What is that?" I whispered. Marcus zoomed in. On one of the papers, I could see my social security number, my bank account numbers, my medical records. "Your sister gave Diane your financial information," Marcus said. "She's been feeding her details for weeks." I couldn't breathe. Regina and I had been close once. After Mama died in 2010, I'd helped Regina financially. When she got evicted in 2018, I'd paid her back rent, $11,000. When her husband left her in 2020, I'd paid for her divorce attorney, $8,000. We'd drifted apart the last few years. She'd been cold to me at Patrick's funeral, barely stayed for the reception. I'd thought she was just dealing with her own grief. "Why?" I asked. Marcus pulled up another document. "She's being evicted. She owes $64,000 in back rent and fees. Her landlord filed eviction proceedings on January 3rd. 2 days later, she met with Diane." Lisa's face was stone. "She sold you out for money. I need to talk to her," I said. "No," Lisa said. "Not yet. If you confront her, she'll warn Diane. We need to use this." February 21st, 2026, Lisa's plan was simple and brutal. "We're going to make Diane think you're dying. We're going to make her think she's won, and we're going to record her confession." She'd already contacted Detective James Rodriguez from the Chicago PD Elder Abuse Division. He was 50 years old, built like a boxer, and had a personal connection to elder abuse cases. "My mother was in county hospital in 2003, he told me when we met. Stroke victim. She had a nurse named Mary who sat with her for 3 hours during a shift change because no family had arrived yet. That nurse held my mother's hand and sang to her. My mother told me about it for years until she passed in 2015. He looked at me. "That was you, wasn't it?" I remembered. Mrs. Rodriguez. She'd been so scared, so alone. I'd sung Amazing Grace because it was the only song I knew all the words to. "I remember your mother," I said. "She was a fighter." "Because of you," he said. "So now I fight for you." The plan: Lisa's office would become a fake hospice room. I would look sick, dying. Lisa would call Regina, have Regina tell Diane that I'd asked to see her one last time, Diane would come, thinking I was too weak to fight back, and we'd record everything. "This is legally complicated," Detective Rodriguez warned. "Illinois is a two-party consent state, but if she's coming to commit a crime, elder abuse, fraud, we have an exception." "Set it up," I said, February 21st, 2026. While Lisa prepared the fake hospice room, Detective Rodriguez pulled me aside. "Mrs. Sullivan, I need to tell you something about Derek Parker. It's going to be hard to hear." He opened a case file. Derek's mother, Helen Parker, died in 2019. She was 72, living in a nursing home, Riverside Senior Care. Derek had her power of attorney. 2 weeks before she died, he liquidated her accounts, $203,000. Then she died suddenly. Death certificate says cardiac arrest. He pulled out another document. "The thing is, Helen Parker was healthy. Her medical records show no heart problems. She just had a physical 2 months before, clean bill of health. Then suddenly dead. Derek inherited everything." "You think he killed her?" I asked. "I think he had motive and opportunity, but we couldn't prove it. The nursing home cremated her before anyone could request an autopsy. Derek insisted on cremation, said it was her wish. No witnesses said otherwise." He pulled out one more file. "Derek's aunt, Patricia Simmons, is still alive. She's 78, in a state nursing home now. Derek had her power of attorney from 2017 to 2020. He drained her accounts, $94,000. She tried to report it, but the facility deemed her incompetent. She's been trying to get justice for 4 years. The weight of it hit me. Derek wasn't just a con artist. He was a predator. He'd done this before. He'd probably killed before. "He's planning to kill me," I said. Detective Rodriguez nodded. "I believe so. That's why we need to move fast." Lisa Washington's conference room, converted to hospice room. The room looked perfect. Hospital bed borrowed from a medical supply company. IV stand with empty bags. Monitors that beeped convincingly. Flowers. The cheap kind you see in real hospice rooms. The smell of antiseptic. I lay in the bed wearing a hospital gown, makeup making me look jaundiced and dying. Lisa had hired a makeup artist. One of my clients is a theater director, who'd made me look like I had 2 weeks to live. Detective Rodriguez and 2 other officers were in the next room, watching through a one-way mirror, recording everything. At 3:17 p.m., the door opened. Regina came in first, her face arranged in sadness. Behind her were Diane and Derek. Diane looked nervous. Derek looked calculating. "Mama?" Diane whispered. She approached the bed slowly. I let my eyes flutter open. "Diane, you came." "Of course I came." She took my hand. It felt like touching a snake. Derek stood at the foot of the bed, watching me like a doctor evaluates a patient's chances. Lisa stood in the corner, dressed as a nurse, holding a clipboard. "How long does she have?" Derek asked Lisa. "Days," Lisa said. "Maybe a week. The cancer spread to her liver. She's refusing further treatment." Diane's eyes filled with tears. Fake ones. I could tell the difference. I'd seen real grief for 42 years. "Mama, I'm so sorry," she said. "I'm sorry about the house. I was just trying to protect you." "It's okay, baby," I said, my voice weak. "I understand you needed the money." Derek leaned forward, interested now. "Mary, about the house. The closing is Monday. We found you a good place. Sunset Haven. You'll be comfortable there." "For how long?" I asked. Diane and Derek exchanged a look. A quick one. But I saw it. So did the cameras. "As long as you need," Diane said. "But the house money," I continued, $1.4 million. That's a lot of money. What will you do with it?" Derek answered before Diane could. "We'll put it in a trust for you, for your medical care, whatever you need." "Liar," I said. The room went silent. "What?" Diane asked. I sat up. The monitors were fake. The IV was empty. I pulled off the tape, removed the fake IVs. I said liar. Detective Rodriguez walked in, badge visible. Diane's face went white. Derek backed toward the door. "Mrs. Sullivan, you're not dying." Rodriguez said, playing along. Not today, detective, but someone tried to kill me. Multiple someones. I looked at Diane. You thought I was helpless. You thought I was stupid. You stole $254,518 from me. You forged my signature. You sold my house. You locked me out in 15-degree weather hoping I'd freeze to death. Mama, I can explain. You planned to put me in Sunset Haven for $1,200 a month. 3 months paid. $3,600. Then what, Diane? What happens when that money runs out? She couldn't answer. I turned to Derek. And you? You killed your mother, didn't you? Helen Parker. Cardiac arrest. How convenient. After you drained her accounts. Derek lunged toward me, but Rodriguez grabbed him. Get your hands off her, he screamed. Derek Parker, Rodriguez said, spinning him around. You're under arrest for elder financial abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, and attempted murder. The handcuffs clicked. Diane was crying now. Real tears. Mama, I didn't know about killing you. I swear. Derek said it was just for the money. Just to help us get a fresh start. A fresh start, I said. In Paris? With my money? With plane tickets for Sunday night? Her face confirmed it. She hadn't known I knew about Paris. There's one more thing you don't know, I said. Diane looked at me, mascara running down her face. What? She whispered. 12 years ago, you had a baby. A daughter. You gave her up because you were on drugs, broke, living in chaos. Her name is Jasmine Marie Sullivan. She's 12 years old. She lives with a foster family on the west side, the Johnson family, good people. And I know about her because she wrote to me 6 months ago. Diane's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the floor. How? She gasped. I pulled a letter from beneath my hospital gown. She found me through Ancestry DNA. She wanted to know about her biological grandmother. We've been writing back and forth. She's smart, Diane. She wants to be a nurse. Like me. You knew? Diane sobbed. All this time? I knew you had a secret. I knew you had shame. I thought maybe that's why you needed money, to get her back. But instead of asking me for help, instead of trusting your mother, you decided to steal from me, to throw me away. I looked at Rodriguez. Detective, what happens to her now? Elder abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud. If she cooperates, testifies against Derek, maybe 18 months. If not, 3 years. Diane looked up at me. Mama, please. I want to make this right. I want to see Jasmine. I want her to have a grandmother. Please. I looked at her for a long moment. We'll see, I said. Right now, you're going to face the consequences. Then maybe we'll talk about second chances, because Jasmine deserves a family, and I will not punish my granddaughter for your crimes. Rodriguez helped Diane stand and cuffed her. Lighter restraints than Derek's, because she wasn't violent, just broken. As they led them both out, Diane looked back at me. I'm sorry, Mama, she said. I'm so sorry. I didn't answer. The door closed. Lisa came to stand beside me. How do you feel? I thought about it. Tired and hungry and ready to meet my granddaughter. 6 weeks later, April 3rd, 2026, the courtroom smelled like old wood and broken promises. I sat in the 3rd row wearing my navy church dress, the one Patrick always said made me look distinguished. Lisa sat beside me, her briefcase full of evidence we'd spent 6 weeks compiling. Judge Margaret Harrison presided. She was 64 years old, African American, with a reputation for being fair but unforgiving when it came to elder abuse. Her own father had been scammed by a caretaker in 2018. She understood. Derek Parker was called first. He'd lost weight in county jail. The expensive suits were gone, replaced by an orange jumpsuit. His lawyer, a public defender named Robert Chen, looked exhausted. There was no defense. The evidence was overwhelming. The charges against Derek Parker. Elder financial abuse, Class 2 felony. Conspiracy to commit fraud, Class 3 felony. Attempted murder, Class X felony, pending. Forgery, Class 3 felony. Wire fraud, federal charge. Assistant District Attorney Monica Phillips stood and read the evidence into record. Your Honor, the defendant systematically targeted vulnerable elderly women. We have documented 3 victims. Helen Parker, deceased, Derek's mother. Drained $203,000 from her accounts 2 weeks before her suspicious death in 2019. Death certificate says cardiac arrest, but medical records show no prior heart condition. Case remains open. Patricia Simmons, 78 years old, Derek's aunt, stole $94,000 between 2017 to 2020. Victim deemed incompetent when she tried to report. Now living in state facility. Mary Sullivan, 68 years old. The defendant, along with his wife, stole $254,518, forged documents, and locked the victim out of her home during sub-zero temperatures. Evidence suggests planning to let her die of exposure or in substandard care facility. A DA Phillips turned to face Derek. This wasn't desperation, Your Honor. This was a pattern. A predator who specifically targets elderly women, gains their trust through family connections, and systematically destroys them. Derek's lawyer tried. Your Honor, my client has gambling debts. He made terrible choices under pressure from loan sharks. Judge Harrison held up her hand. Counselor, owing money to criminals doesn't give your client the right to become one. Mr. Parker, stand. Derek stood, shaking. Derek Michael Parker, this court finds you guilty on all counts. You are sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole for 8 years. You will pay restitution of $551,518 to your victims. Upon release, you will be on supervised probation for life and are permanently barred from serving as power of attorney or executor for any estate. The gavel came down. Derek screamed. This is bullshit! That old bitch set me up! She— 2 bailiffs grabbed him. As they dragged him out, he looked at me with pure hatred. I looked back with nothing. He was already gone from my life. Diane was called next. She'd been in county jail for 6 weeks, too, but she looked different than Derek. Smaller. Broken. Her hair wasn't styled. Her face had no makeup. She wore an orange jumpsuit that hung on her frame. The charges against Diane Sullivan Parker. Elder financial abuse, Class 2 felony. Conspiracy to commit fraud, Class 3 felony. Forgery, Class 3 felony. Her lawyer, Catherine Martinez, was better than Derek's. Private attorney, paid for by legal aid after Diane cooperated with prosecutors. Your Honor, Martinez began, my client acknowledges her crimes. She has cooperated fully with the investigation. She testified against Derek Parker. She has shown genuine remorse. A DA Phillips stood. The victim has agreed to address the court. Judge Harrison looked at me. Mrs. Sullivan, would you like to make a statement? I stood. My legs were steady. My voice was clear. Your Honor, my daughter stole from me. She forged my signature. She locked me out of my home in 15-degree weather while I was sick with cancer. She planned to put me in a facility that would have hastened my death. I paused. Diane was crying silently. But, I continued, she was also manipulated. Derek Parker is a predator who has done this before. My daughter made terrible choices, but she's not a monster. She's a woman who lost her way. I looked directly at Diane. I have a granddaughter, Jasmine Marie Sullivan. She's 12 years old and she deserves to know her mother. Not the woman who committed these crimes, but the woman my daughter could still become. Justice must be served, but I ask for mercy that allows for redemption. I sat down. The courtroom was silent. Judge Harrison studied Diane for a long moment. Ms. Sullivan Parker, what do you have to say? Diane stood. Her voice was hoarse. I have no excuse. I was selfish, cruel, and cowardly. I convinced myself I was doing it for my daughter to get custody back. But the truth is, I was doing it for myself. I wanted an easy life, and I was willing to destroy my mother to get it. Tears ran down her face. Mama, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, But I want you to know that meeting Jasmine, seeing her letters to you, realizing she wanted a grandmother, that broke something in me. I have been a terrible daughter. I don't want to be a terrible mother." Judge Harrison nodded slowly. "Ms. Sullivan Parker, you are sentenced to 3 years in prison. However, due to your cooperation, your lack of prior criminal record, and the victim's statement, I am suspending 18 months of that sentence. You will serve 18 months in minimum security, followed by 5 years of supervised probation." Diane's face showed relief and grief simultaneously. "Additionally," Judge Harrison continued, "you will pay full restitution of $254,518 to your mother. You will complete 2 years of therapy. You will have no contact with Derek Parker for life, and any contact with your mother or daughter will be supervised until a therapist deems you appropriate for unsupervised visits." The gavel came down again. As they led Diane away, she looked back at me. "Thank you, Mama." I nodded once. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was possibility. April 15th, 2026. The financial recovery took 3 weeks. Lisa had frozen all of Diane and Derek's assets the day after their arrest. Now sitting in her office, she handed me a detailed accounting. Assets seized. Derek Parker, Tag Heuer, watch $8,400 seized. Mercedes C-Class, leased returned. Bank accounts, $3,247 seized. Total from Derek, $11,647. Diane Sullivan Parker, Range Rover, $87,423, seized and sold. Designer clothes/jewelry, $23,890, auction. Office equipment, $12,450, liquidated. Bank accounts, $47,892, seized. Total from Diane, $171,655. Property recovery, 1247 East 47th Street, Brownstone. Quit claim deed voided, ownership restored to Mary Sullivan. All forged documents invalidated. Credit restored, financial summary. Total stolen, $254,518. Total recovered, $183,302. Insurance claim, elder abuse rider, $71,216. Total restoration, $254,518. Legal fees, $42,000, paid from recovery. Net return to Mary, $212,518. Plus, Lisa said, you still have your IRA, $387,294, and your house is worth $1.4 million. I looked at the numbers. I'm not homeless. Miss Mary, you were never homeless. You were just fighting your way back. April 20th, 2026. I stood in my empty brownstone one last time. The movers had taken everything that morning. I'd sold the house to a young couple, Dr. James and Rachel Chen, both teachers, expecting their first baby. I sold it to them for $1.2 million, below market value, because they reminded me of Patrick and me 40 years ago. I walked through each room, touching the walls Patrick and I had painted, the floors we'd refinished, the windows we'd replaced. So many memories. Diane learning to walk in the living room, Patrick's last morning in our bedroom, Christmas dinners, birthday parties, a lifetime. But this house wasn't home anymore. Home is where you feel safe. I hadn't felt safe here since February 14th. I locked the door for the last time and handed the keys to the Chens. Take care of her, I said. She's got good bones. April 22nd, 2026. New address, 800 South Wells Street, Unit 1804, South Loop Riverview Tower. My new condo was on the 18th floor with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago River. Oh. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, modern kitchen, 24-hour security with a doorman named James who'd already learned my name. It cost $485,000. I paid cash. I spent the first week setting up the second bedroom. not as a guest room, as Jasmine's room. I bought a bed with a purple comforter. Lisa had told me purple was Jasmine's favorite color. I bought bookshelves and filled them with nursing memoirs and young adult novels. I bought a desk for homework. I put up a bulletin board for her to pin photos and memories. I didn't know if she'd ever use it. But it was ready. 6 months later, my cancer was in remission. Dr. Chen had confirmed it at my 6-month checkup. No tumors, clean scans, continue monitoring every 3 months. The chemotherapy had worked. I'd survived. I'd also started volunteering at a free clinic on the West Side, teaching young nurses. 3 mornings a week, I'd share 42 years of knowledge with the next generation. It felt good to be useful again. My phone rang at 9:47 a.m. Lisa. Miss Mary, a letter came to my office from Diane. She asked me to read it first, make sure it was appropriate before forwarding to you. And? I think you should read it. Can I bring it by? Come for lunch. Lisa arrived at noon with the letter and Thai food. We sat at my dining table, the river sparkling below us, and she handed me the envelope. Sender, Diane Sullivan Parker, number 2847392, Illinois Women's Correctional Center, Facility B. Date, October 10th, 2026. I opened it slowly. Inside were 2 pages of handwriting, shaky but careful, and a photograph. Dear Mama, I don't deserve to write to you. I don't deserve to ask for anything. But I'm not writing for me. I'm writing about Jasmine. I've been in here for 8 months now. I have 10 months left. Every single day I wake up and the first thing I think is, I locked my mother out in the snow. I threw you away like trash. I can never take that back. My therapist here, Dr. Williams, she's been making me face what I did. Not just the stealing or the forging, but the cruelty. The way I looked at you on that porch and felt nothing. She says I was so deep in my own shame and desperation that I couldn't see your humanity. I couldn't see that you were my mother, and you were dying, and you needed me. I'm so sorry doesn't even begin to cover it. But Mama, I need to tell you about Jasmine. The prison lets us write letters. I wrote to the Johnsons, her foster family, and asked if I could write to Jasmine. They said yes, but only supervised letters. So I've been writing to her once a week. Mama, she's brilliant. She sends me her report cards, straight A's. She sends me drawings. She tells me about her science projects and her friends. And in every letter, she asks about you. What was Grandma Mary like as a nurse? Does Grandma Mary think I could be a nurse too? Can I meet Grandma Mary? I told her about you, the real you. I told her how you worked double shifts to put me through college, how you once delivered a baby in an elevator during a power outage, how you sang to scared patients, how you saved people's lives for 42 years while I was too selfish to see it. She wrote back, My grandma sounds like a superhero. She's right. You are. Mama, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to give Jasmine what I couldn't. A relationship with the strongest woman I've ever known. She deserves a grandmother. She deserves you. I'll be out in 10 months. I don't expect a relationship with you. I don't expect to be invited to your life. But please, don't punish Jasmine for my sins. There's a picture enclosed. I thought you should see her. I'm working on becoming someone she can be proud of. Someone who deserves to be called her mother. I'm taking classes here. Accounting, business management, anger management, therapy. I'm trying to become the woman you raised me to be. I know it's too little, too late. But I'm trying. If you're willing to meet her, contact Mrs. Patricia Johnson at the number below. She coordinates all visits. Jasmine has been asking about you for months. Thank you for not letting me destroy you. Thank you for surviving. I love you, Mama. I know I don't have the right to say that anymore, but it's true. Diane. I set down the letter and picked up the photograph. A 12-year-old girl stared back at me. Brown skin, natural hair in 2 puffs, bright, intelligent eyes. She was wearing a white coat, the kind you get from those school career days, with a stethoscope around her neck. On the back, in careful handwriting, Career Day, October 5th, 2026. I dressed as a nurse like my Grandma Mary. Jasmine. I looked at that photo for a long time. She had Diane's eyes. She had Patrick's smile. She had my determined jaw. Lisa watched me carefully. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," I said slowly, "that I spent 42 years saving lives, and maybe it's time to save one more." October 28th, 2026, Millennium Park, Cloudgate Plaza, 2 p.m. We met on neutral ground. Mrs. Patricia Johnson, Jasmine's foster mother, had suggested Millennium Park. Public, safe, beautiful. A good place for beginnings. I arrived early, wearing my good coat, carrying a small gift bag. Inside was a stethoscope, a real one, the kind I'd used for 40 years, and a copy of my favorite nursing book, The Nurse's Guide to Compassionate Care. Lisa came with me for support. "You don't have to do this," she'd said in the car. "Yes," I said, "I do." At 2 o'clock exactly, I saw them. Mrs. Johnson, a black woman in her 50s, kind face, sturdy build, walking with a girl in a purple jacket. Jasmine. She was taller than I'd expected from the photo, 12 years old, standing between childhood and adolescence, nervous and hopeful. Mrs. Johnson approached first. "Mrs. Sullivan, I'm Patricia Johnson. This is Jasmine." Jasmine looked at me with those bright, intelligent eyes. "Hi," she said softly. Are you really my grandma?" I knelt down, my knees protesting but obeying. I looked her directly in the eyes. "I am," I said, "and I'm sorry I didn't know about you sooner, but I know about you now, and I'd very much like to get to know you better. My mom said you're a nurse, that you saved people's lives. I was a nurse for 42 years, and yes, I helped people. That's what nurses do." "I want to be a nurse," Jasmine said. "Like you. Is that okay?" My throat tightened. "That's more than okay. That's wonderful." I handed her the gift bag. "This is for you." She opened it carefully. When she saw the stethoscope, her face lit up like Christmas morning. "Is this real?" she asked. "Very real. That's my stethoscope. I used it for 20 years. It's seen a lot of life, and now it's yours." She put it around her neck immediately, touching it like it was precious. "Can you teach me?" she asked. "Can you teach me how to be a nurse like you?" I looked at Mrs. Johnson, who nodded permission. "Yes," I said. "I can teach you." 3 months later, Saturday morning Jasmine visited every other weekend now. Court approved, supervised by Mrs. Johnson initially, but the judge had recently allowed unsupervised visits after 3 months of successful meetings. This Saturday morning, she sat at my kitchen table doing homework while I made breakfast. Scrambled eggs, turkey bacon, and grits, the way my mother taught me. "Grandma Mary?" she asked, not looking up from her math worksheet. "Yes, baby?" "When my mom gets out, will you forgive her?" I set down the spatula and came to sit beside her. "Forgiveness is complicated, Jasmine. It's not something you do once. It's something you choose every day. Your mama hurt me badly. She did things that can't be undone. So you won't forgive her?" I didn't say that. I said it's complicated. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means choosing not to let the hurt define everything. "Do you hate her?" "No, I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm disappointed. But I don't hate her. She's still my daughter, and she's your mother. And I believe people can change if they do the work." Jasmine looked at me with those wise eyes. "Has she been doing the work?" "I think so. She writes to me now. I don't always write back, but I read them. She's taking classes. She's in therapy. She talks about wanting to make amends. Will you let her?" I thought about it. "Maybe. When she gets out. If she shows me she's changed. But Jasmine, you need to understand, forgiveness and trust are different things. I might forgive her someday, but I'll never trust her the same way. Some things once broken can't be put back exactly the same. But they can be fixed, just differently?" "Yes, just differently." She nodded and went back to her homework. I went back to the eggs. This was healing. 1 year anniversary. 1 year ago today, I'd been locked out of my home, thrown away like trash, left to freeze. Today, I stood at a podium announcing the Mary Sullivan Second Chances Scholarship Fund. Lisa stood beside me. Detective Rodriguez was in the front row. Dr. Patricia Chen was there. Mrs. Johnson and Jasmine sat together, Jasmine wearing her stethoscope. 1 year ago, I began, I learned a terrible lesson about family, trust, and betrayal. But I also learned something else, about resilience, about justice, and about the power of second chances. I looked directly at the camera. This foundation will provide 2 types of support. First, scholarships for young women pursuing nursing or healthcare careers, with preference given to women from challenging backgrounds. Second, legal aid and financial assistance for elderly victims of financial abuse. I gestured to the check on the easel beside me, $500,000. This initial funding comes from the sale of my home and recovered assets. But more importantly, it comes from the belief that our worst moments don't have to define us, that we can take pain and transform it into purpose. A reporter raised her hand. Mrs. Sullivan, your daughter will be released in 7 months. Will you have a relationship with her? I paused. That's a question for 7 months from now. Right now, I'm focused on helping others, on being a grandmother to Jasmine, and on healing. If Diane does the work, if she becomes the woman she claims she wants to be, then maybe. But second chances aren't automatic. They're earned. Another letter arrived. Diane's handwriting was stronger now, more confident. Dear Mama, I'm getting out in 3 weeks. The Johnsons have agreed to let me visit Jasmine, supervised. My parole officer has helped me find a job. Administrative work at a community college, $32,000 a year. I found a studio apartment in Austin neighborhood, $850 a month. I've been going to AA meetings in here. I start therapy again as soon as I'm out. I'm not asking to be your daughter again. I'm asking if maybe someday I can earn the right to be in your life, even just the edges of it. Jasmine sends me her report card every quarter. She tells me about your cooking lessons and the stethoscope you gave her. She tells me you're teaching her how to take blood pressure on her teddy bears. Mama, thank you for giving her what I couldn't. Thank you for being the grandmother she deserves. I know I destroyed something precious, but maybe if I work hard enough, I can build something new. Not the same, but something honest. I'd like to see you when I get out. Just once. Just to say in person what I can never fully say in a letter. You don't have to answer now. You don't have to answer at all. I understand either way. Diane. I folded the letter and looked out my window at the Chicago River. Did I want to see her? I didn't know. But I knew one thing. I wasn't afraid anymore. She couldn't hurt me. I'd built something she couldn't touch. Peace, purpose, a relationship with Jasmine, a new life. I picked up my phone and texted Lisa. Tell her yes. 1 meeting, public place, June 1st, 1 hour. Lisa texted back. You sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. 1 year later, my dining table was full, actually full, for the first time since Patrick died. And at the far end, keeping her distance but present, Diane. She'd been out for 9 months. We'd had 4 supervised meetings. We weren't close. We might never be close. But we were civil. We were trying. She'd gotten her real estate license back. She was working, paying restitution, $400 a month every month. She was in therapy twice a week. She'd been sober for 17 months. She saw Jasmine once a month, supervised. Grandma Mary, Jasmine said, holding up her glass of grape juice, I want to make a toast. Everyone raised their glasses. Wine, juice, water. 2 years ago, bad things happened. Really bad things. But Grandma Mary taught me that bad things don't have to be the end of the story. They can be the beginning of a new chapter. She looked at me with those bright eyes. Thank you for teaching me that. Thank you for being my family. And thank you for showing me that being a nurse means more than bandages and medicine. It means healing people's hearts, too. We clinked glasses. I looked around the table at this strange, broken, beautiful family I'd somehow built from the ruins. After dinner, I stood on my balcony alone for a moment. The Chicago wind was still cold, but I was warm, safe, home. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane. "Thank you for letting me come. I know I don't deserve it." I typed back slowly. "You're right. You don't deserve it. But Jasmine does. And I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for her. Keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Maybe someday." I hit send. Then I went back inside to my family, the one I'd chosen, the one I'd fought for, the one I'd built with my own hands. March of 2028. My name is Mary Sullivan. I'm 70 years old, and 2 years ago my daughter locked me out of my house and tried to steal everything I'd worked 42 years to build. People ask me, how did you survive it? How did you fight back? How did you forgive? The answer is I almost didn't. I almost gave up that first night in the motel. I almost let the cold and the cancer and the betrayal win. But then I remembered something I'd learned in 42 years of nursing. You don't save every patient. You don't fix every problem. But you show up for your shift, and you do the work, and you save the ones you can. I couldn't save my relationship with my daughter. That died on a frozen porch in February. But I could save myself. I could save my granddaughter's future. I could save other people from what happened to me. At 70 years old, I learned that being underestimated is a superpower. They saw a sick old woman. They didn't see the nurse who'd survived 42 years in Chicago emergency rooms. They didn't see the woman who'd built a life from nothing. They didn't see the fighter. Your age is not your weakness. Your kindness is not your weakness. Your trust is not your weakness. Those are your strengths. And when people try to use them against you, you show them what real strength looks like. I also learned that family isn't just blood. Family is who shows up, who fights for you, who holds your hand in the dark. And I learned that second chances are real, but they're not free. They're earned through work, through change, through showing up day after day and proving you've become someone different. My daughter and I will never have the relationship we had. That's gone. But maybe we can build something new, something honest, something based on truth instead of lies. And my granddaughter? She's going to be a nurse, a better nurse than I ever was, because she's learning something I had to teach myself, that healing isn't just about bodies, it's about hearts. It's about broken families finding ways to be whole again, even if they're whole in a different way. If you're listening to this and you're being abused, financially, emotionally, physically, by someone who claims to love you, I want you to know, it's not your fault. You're not weak. You're not stupid. You trusted someone and they betrayed that trust. That's on them, not you. But you can survive. You can fight back. You can rebuild. You get 5 minutes to fall apart. Then you get to work. My name is Mary Sullivan. I'm a nurse, a grandmother, a survivor. And my story isn't a tragedy. It's a testimony.